Welcome to Elementary Algebra. The book is by Harold Jacobs. I'm your presenter, Molly Crocker. We are on Chapter 1, Fundamental Operations, and this material is copyrighted. Lesson 7, Several Operations. First, a little review. What do you call the results when you add or subtract or multiply and divide? What are the identity elements for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division? Can you divide by 0? Can you divide 0 by a number? Pause the video and write down some responses, and we'll check your answers in a few seconds. Here's your answers. How'd you do? On to the lesson at hand. How long did it take you to figure out what happened in this paragraph? At a young age, none of us has much sense of left or right. But sooner or later, whichever hand is dominant becomes pretty clear, and that still doesn't have much to do with whether we read from left to right or right to left, or even top to bottom, which occurs in some of the world's languages. How long did it take you to distinguish B from D? I should say lowercase b from lowercase d. What happened in the second paragraph is less obvious. If you're stuck, then look up the poem To Autumn by John Keats, Keats, John Keats. The point of all this is that the order in which we do things does matter. Socks must go on before the shoes do. For which of these operations does the order matter? The third and fourth line will come out differently if we do them in a different order. If you haven't already done so, please read the scenario at the beginning of Lesson 7 in the book. I don't know any stores that sell porcupine or iguana meat, by the way. Buffalo sausages might be difficult to find, but they are not unheard of. Pause here if you need to read the lesson. Order of operations. Perhaps you've heard the phrase order of operations. Now, operations are add, subtract, multiply, divide, and raising to an exponent. Perhaps you've learned the order of operations with the acronym PEMDAS. Parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. For some, the phrase, "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally," helps us remember the order of the letters in the list. Let's simplify these expressions. Following the order of operations, I see there are no parentheses to worry about. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the next lesson. We've talked a bit about how a fraction has hidden parentheses, and there are some cases we'll have to pay attention to, but more on that later as well. There are exponents. That would be the first thing to evaluate. Next, multiplication, which is circled in green. Remember, if there's more than one multiplication in an expression, we'll do them as we see them in order from left to right. If it's mixed up with some division, then we'll do whichever of those comes first, left to right. Last, what is circled in blue, subtraction in the upper expression, addition in the lower expression. Let's do these one by one. You know, happily modern calculators know the order of operations. If we enter the entire expression into a single line and press enter or equals only at the end, then the calculator will correctly evaluate the expression. If you're in the habit of pressing equals after each operation, however, you'll get the wrong answer. For instance, if you raise 4 to the third power and press enter or equals, then minus 4 and press enter or equals, and then multiply by 3, you'll get the wrong answer. In this example, the wrong answer would be 180. I'm going to give you another calculator tip. Get into the habit of not pressing clear every time you pick up your calculator. You might need that answer you just entered, or you might need to examine what buttons you pressed to get the result you got to see if it was entered correctly. It's also possible to tweak an expression without retyping the whole thing. That's handy if you have a long expression and you need to change just one piece. If you pressed clear, then it's gone. This is the second of those two expressions. A wrong answer might be 2,304. See if you can figure out how to get that by reordering the order of operations. You can use a calculator if you want to. A common error I see students doing is to grab the part they know how to do first. In this case, the math fact 3 times 2 is easy, so students all often do that first. And then raising to a third power is a little messier, so they'll put that one off. But if you pick up a calculator and then raise 6 to the third power, you'll get 216. But the exponent should come first. 2 to the third power is 8. Then it is multiplied to 3, with the result being 24. Be careful of your order of operations. Resist temptation. Let's look at homework number 4. In set 2, problem 4, it asks you to match figures to the expressions, but the expressions are on the next page. Now, try starting with the expression and matching a figure to it. In some cases, changing how you read something can help. For example, 4 squared could be read a square of 4. That tells you that you are looking for a square that is 4 on each side, not a square that contains 4 circles. Did you catch that? 4 squared is a square with 4 on a side. Homework number 5. Check your answers for the expressions in problem 5 with a calculator. Try it and see. Let's summarize. Operations are add, subtract, multiply, divide, and raising to a power. Parentheses can change the normal order of operations, and what's in them must be evaluated first. We'll look more at parentheses in the next lesson. Our order of operations is parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, left to right, addition and subtraction, left to right. PEMDAS is a word that whose letters start with the first letter of each word. And a sentence that sometimes people use is, "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally," to help remember PEMDAS. A final check. Which comes first, the multiplication or division? The division, because multiplication and division are on the same level of the order of operations. So, left to right. Which comes first, addition or subtraction? In this case, it's subtraction, because addition and subtraction are on the same level of the order of operations. Work left to right. Can you figure out what mistake would produce the answer of 4 or 8? Correct answer is 16. That's all for now.